Hi, I'm Meredith Bell. Effective leadership involves two kinds of behavior patterns: leadership skills and personal strengths. In this segment of my interview with Denny Coates, he explains what these patterns are and what it takes to develop them. Denny, this is such a stimulating conversation about effective leadership. I have a different question for you now. What does it take for someone to be an effective leader?
I think what you need to think about is that there are a lot of skills. We call them people skills or interpersonal skills, and the bulk of all the leadership skills are highly interpersonal or people skills. Things like the ability to listen well, the ability to accept feedback, the ability to give feedback, the ability to resolve conflict. All of these things are things that you do with people. And so it's a skill, and you can learn it. And so I think that's a huge piece.
I bet there's something else, though, besides people skills that would also make a big difference for a leader.
Well, a lot of folks talk about it this way. It's not just what you can do, it's who you are. I like to talk about it in terms of personal strengths.
What do you mean by that?
I mean things like integrity and perseverance and honesty and compassion.
Sounds a lot like character when we talk
A lot
about
of that.
character.
That's a word that's sometimes used, or grit. Heart are some other synonyms for character or personal strength. They're not just qualities, because they don't mean anything until it's manifested in your actual behavior with people. So these are things you do, and you do them mostly because it's your habit to do them. It's your way of acting with people. So in a way, these traits made visible, or these personal strengths, are similar to skills in that they're behavior patterns. You've just learned to operate this way in that situation. So when I'm listening, I do it this way. Or when I'm faced with something difficult, then I do this and this, which involves personal strength, which would be perhaps if it's time to face up to the awful truth of something that's happened, then I will take responsibility and tell the truth. It's my way. But that's a hard thing to do.
Right.
And one of the ways to think of a personal strength, I call it a strength, because you're doing something hard.
So it isn't necessarily something a person already has when you say a personal strength. It's something that they need to have.
It's something they learn to do.
Okay.
Over time, over a lifetime. And that's a good point, because I think people skills and personal strengths are something that you work on. Everyone has a different mix of skills that are really strong for them and skills that they probably need to work on. And the same is true in personal strengths. It could be that it's very easy for them to have honesty and integrity because they always have acted that way. But maybe it's not so easy for them to take a risk. Or maybe it's not so easy for them to stay calm, cool, and collected when the world's on fire around them. Everyone's different. Everyone has personal strengths that are really, really strong, and others that are not so strong. And so what that means is that as a person who wants to lead people, I should probably be working on some things.
Let me ask you something else, though, that made me think about. Is there a point, let's say that you decide to work on something like patience. A lot of people have trouble with that. And you work on it and you work on it. Can you ever get to the point where you say, I'm done?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, how good can you get in the area of patience? How good can you get in the area of honesty? How good can you get in the area of composure, and so on and so on. And by the way, I think there are dozens of these personal strengths. Just how good a listener can you be? I think you might ask the same question of a golfer. How good of a golfer can you be? Can you get to the point where I've got no more learning I can do? How good of a musician can you be? Well, I'm as good as I possibly can be. There's no more room for growth. Well, that's nonsense. And none of the great musicians or athletes or any person who does things for a living ever gets to that point. If they're great, they're still learning. And I think that leadership skills and I think personal strengths are the same, that you actually never really get to the end of them. One of the reasons is that there are so many people skills and there are so many personal strengths to master.
That no one person can really be good in all of them.
Yes. And mastering them is a lifelong thing. So
really, if you want to get stronger as a leader, in terms of your leadership skills and your people skills, you're talking about somebody being a lifelong learner.
That's right. And it begins when you're in charge of your first group. You realize then that some things are pretty hard and maybe make a lot of mistakes, and that's where the learning starts. Well, and it not necessarily have to go to training for that. Just learn from those mistakes. Learn from the feedback that you get. Learn from books. And all of these things will suggest to you, hey, try it this way, or do this better in this way. And the learning comes when you actually try to do it, because it's not something you know, it's something you do.
It sounds like another piece of this is awareness, so that you recognize when you're doing it, if you're being effective or not.
Right. Or you recognize, I need more work in this area. I've known some high-level people, executives, generals, people like that. And one of the funny things about it is most of them feel that they've come to the end of their learning. Now, there are some that don't feel that way, and they're still growing. But some people don't understand that part, that it's a lifelong journey.
And what do you see as the consequence when someone takes that attitude that they're done?
Well, what happens is that whatever their weaknesses are will not be addressed. As I say, everybody's got their strengths, everybody's got their weaknesses. But if you think, because you're the general manager now, or you're a senior vice president now, I've made it. I have to be good, or they never would have selected me to serve at this level. And so I'm just going to do what I do, and you don't think about the fact that you're still growing as a leader. So that can happen, but it shouldn't happen.
So in order for them to really be effective on an ongoing basis, they and any other person in a leadership role needs to keep working on those leadership skills and people skills.
No matter what level you're at, whether you're a foreman, a supervisor, a manager, an administrator, a C-level executive, whatever.
And those personal strengths, because the truth is we're all going to have situations that require us to use those that we didn't anticipate. So if we don't have that, we're not going to have the tools we need.
Yeah, I think the devil here is the Popeye attitude. I am what I am. Because we really need to be looking at who we are and trying to improve things one thing at a time.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Denny.
Okay.
We'd like you to have 2 free leadership ebooks that are packed with insights to help you deal with challenges you face every day. Strong for Leadership and Coach the People You Care About. Get your free ebooks at prostarcoach.com.